show this video every week so that you know where you should be going on TV. Aside from the places you've already been invited to at Celebrity Launchpad, there's a whole country full of TV stations that you can go on. Seeing who's already been on those stations, people you worship, people you idolize. Kellyanne Petrucci, Veronica Gray, Chris and Katrin, yours truly.
Let's start with the wetsuit. The shark repelling wetsuit, if you would.
This is one of my favorite things. We have the surf lady modeling all the way from Hawaii, and it actually repels sharks. See the bands on the legs? It resembles the banded sea snake, which sharks are afraid of because it's one of the most venomous snakes in the sea.
And apparently, a shark doesn't need to see a lot. Just know, just the movement of that band in black and white, and they know that that's the one thing that will take them out.
They're gone. They're away. You know, they think they're going to get killed by that snake. So it's on. Awesome.
All right. What are we doing here? How about we start video? Yes, hello there. And we end the share.
All right, everybody, this is Clint Arthur, and I'm making this quick video.
All right. Yes. Welcome, everybody, to your weekly Celebrity Entrepreneur Mastermind. This is Clint Arthur coming to you live from the Celebrity Clubhouse number 2. Celebrity Clubhouse number 2, El Refugio in Acapulco, where it's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day here in Acapulco. Gosh, Ali and I were just hanging out by the pool. But earlier today, I made the most incredible interview video with Rafi Andonian, who's been to Celebrity Launchpad 3 times, I believe. And he's done NBA Diamond. And it was really an incredible video that I'm really tempted to play that video as this webinar because it just covers so much. It really does cover so much. I think what I will do is I will take any questions that people have from last week's Celebrity Launchpad. If anybody has any questions from last week's Celebrity Launchpad, and then I'm going to play that video from this morning because it covers so many ideas and concepts and strategies that we work with every single day, not just here, but in MBA as well. And it'd be a phenomenal reminder for everybody about where you want to go, because Rafi has 55 booked appearances so far. He's done 52 appearances and he's got 55 booked. So do either of you guys have any questions for me right now? I'm available to answer any question that you might have about anything that has to do with Celebrity Launchpad. You got a question, Lacey?
Well, I think I know the answer. I'm trying to figure out, I just keep sending it every couple days, right? So I've got 3 that I've heard back from. We're in the process of solidifying dates, but
Good.
The rest of them, I'm just going to continue. I did it this morning and then I'll do it again on Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
And
who's responding to you so far?
Chad from New Orleans and Samantha. Where is Samantha?
I know where she is, and who else?
And Sonora.
And
I've
Sonora.
been in touch with the host.
How do you not have dates accomplished with these people? How is it possible that they responded to you and you responded to them with a date?
I said whenever is great for you, and they came back with choices, and I told them what I could do. And the one that I'm the closest to solidifying the date. I just haven't heard back from them, Clint.
Hold on a second. All 3 of them offered you dates?
Yes.
Okay, so you responded to all 3 by saying, I'm looking forward to being on your show on this date.
No, I said this would be my preferred date, but I can make any happen. The one that
they offer, okay, listen, the whole thing is about getting a date. Don't worry about getting, this is one of the things that Rafi will say in this video, okay? Don't worry about what the date is.
Okay.
Get a date and make it happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So when they say, we would like to have you on the show either February, for example, read me Sonora's email.
Oh, Sonora's great. She already put me in touch with the host. I've already been on the phone with the host.
Sonora is the host.
No, it's Deja, Daija.
A different host.
Correct. Sonora's not the host. So they're starting a new fitness program, and they want to. We're doing like a whole thing, even a live segment where people
read me Samantha's email.
Okay. Samantha says, one sec.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, Lacey. Would you prefer Wednesday, February 15th or March 15th or the 22nd? I know I threw 3 dates in there. I just want to make sure we get the right date.
Okay.
I said, what?
Okay. And what did you say?
I said March 15th would be great for me, but I can make any work.
Okay. So listen, I don't know why you have to put in, she offered you March 15th. It's far in advance. Okay. What you should have said was, well, I think you should reply right now.
Okay.
Right? Reply right now. March 15 is perfect. Please, I've penciled it in my book. Please reply to confirm this appearance date and provide the studio address and my call time. Yep, Kevin Freeman is 100% right. You see, what you did was you did what you should not do, and Kevin Freeman said it. Don't leave any open questions or be tentative. Okay, you got to be 100%. Okay, great. March 15th is perfect. It's in my book. It's penciled in my book. Please reply to confirm that date with the studio address and the appearance time, period. Actually, my call time, CALLTIME. That's the technical term for what you need. What time do you need to show up? That's the call time.
Okay.
Don't be tentative or leave any open questions. You cannot get confirmations that way. This is not just in TV. This is with clients too. You cannot be tentative or leave any open questions. Hey, the program costs $99 a month. Do you want to change? Do you want it on American Express, Visa, or MasterCard? And when do you want to start?
Okay.
That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, now what happened with the other person that you replied to? It was Sonora, Samantha, and who else?
Chad.
Chad, where are you with Chad?
Waiting to hear back.
What did you say to him?
I said,
What did he say to you? What did he say to you?
Okay, sorry. Let me pull up my email.
Good. This is very good. This should fall under ways to screw up your email confirmations.
Well, now I know.
Okay, good.
Okay. Hey, Lacey, sounds great. When or would you like to visit our studio next month? How's early to mid-March for you?
What did
And
you say?
I said, I'm free the week of the 6th. I didn't give him a specific date. So there
Okay,
we go.
great. So I want you to reply again right now. Reply again to that same message.
Okay.
And you're going to say, hey, Chad, I'm available any day the first week of March. Please reply with your preferred date and my call time and the studio address, period. That's it. See, you didn't say that. You just like, oh, I'm free any day. And then he's like, okay, good to know. And moves on.
Mm-hmm.
You have to direct people.
Okay.
Being a TV celebrity is about being a leader. See, your position in this hierarchy is actually above the TV producer. You have to start bossing them around. You have to start by treating them like shit in the first place, saying, hey, Samantha, hey, Chad, great to see you. Well, this is what you do. You diss them. You can't say hey to a person who's above you. You can only say hey to an underling. Hey, Chad, see what I'm saying? You treat them like shit, and then you tell them what you want. That's what they want. They are looking for leaders. Do you understand? You're a leader.
Yep.
Or at least you used to be a leader in the military. Have you stopped being a leader in your life?
Nope.
Okay, well, be a leader.
All righty.
Who says this? Kevin Freem. Don't leave any open questions. It's a general rule of business. Experts tell, novices ask questions. 100%. Look, you got 3 people on the hook. You got 3 people who are responding to you. You need to tell them what you want.
Okay.
Good. Nobody will ever complain if you just become the leader in this situation, as long as you do a good job. All right, good. I'm going to watch this video that I did with Rafi with you guys. I'm going to sit here and watch the whole video because it was freaking amazing. And there's a lot of stuff here. Let's see.
My author is here.
I did a live. It was a live. Where the hell is it? Here it is. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen now. Here you go.
Basically, like, here we go.
Setting up my YouTube live. Fucking ridiculous. We were talking about how I couldn't do a Facebook live because when I was in Rome,
All right.
I posted
Here we
an
go.
image of a plaque on the wall
There we go.
inside the
Setting up my
Rome
YouTube live.
Opera House, and it had Benito Mussolini's name, and Facebook flagged me.
All right.
Hates these-
Hey, everybody. I am here
I think
with
we're
my,
streaming.
yeah, we're streaming.
All right.
I'm here with
Here
my
we
good
go.
I
friend.
think there's a delay, Clint. There's some kind of delay.
Setting up my
How about that? That's better, right?
I think so. Yeah,
There you-
yeah.
All right. I am here with my good friend and student and in certain ways, my own mentor, Rafi Andonian. He has really racked up a lot of success using TV. And we're going to be talking about how he has gotten his 50 plus TV appearances, how he's been invited to be a guest host on network television, and all the great things that this has done for his life, his career, his personal self, you know, because I say that TV, as I wrote in my book, which you might have seen on the Today Show when I was there with Brooke Shields and Willie Geist, break through your upper limits on TV. I say that going on TV is a personal transformation experience. Rafi, what do you say to that?
Absolutely. I love it. Changes who you are, your profile, and you know, how even everyone not only looks at you, but treats you, even your time, how they treat your time.
Amen to that. Let's get right into the juice of this thing. You're able to, I'm going to let you share your screen, and I would age, and let's start going through this.
Sure.
I made you a co-host. You should be able to share your screen.
Let's do it. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Share screen.
I just did this video with him today. Good. There we go. We're doing it.
Let's do it. And then let's go to my, so I post all these things onto my YouTube channel, which I link to my website.
Mhm.
So I'm currently
Oh,
reworking.
hold on a second. I want to start this here. Resume. Yep, I'm here with Rafi Andoni. We're going through his media page and his YouTube channel, and we're talking about all the great things that have happened for him in the process of racking up 50 plus network TV appearances and what that has done for everything in your whole life. So, okay, so you have all these appearances posted on your YouTube channel.
Correct.
And you will be updating your media page. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple different websites. I have 3 different websites before. I can't even remember right now. And the one that this would normally go integrated into, I'm kind of doing some switching up. But yes,
That'll be on celebrityhistorian.com.
that's exactly right. Yep.
Good.
Yep. So celebrityhistorian.com right now, which I can show you really quick, is a series. It's like a link tree.
Yeah.
It goes to a bunch of stuff I do based on this project. One of which does go to my YouTube page right here.
Yeah.
TV appearances and public speeches at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then it redirects exactly to where we are right now. So I have a bunch of stuff on there, but I'm fleshing out this website more because it used to be rafiandonian.com, and I'm going to have that here. And then rafiandonian.com will have some other stuff on it too.
Yeah. Well, celebrityhistorian.com, you know, it should start. You were at Dr. Oz, right?
Yes,
I mean, you know, that should probably be right at the top of celebrityhistorian.com.
exactly. Yep. And so, yeah, this is the, different appearances. I also have some, of course, talks and speeches on there.
Yep.
For example, here's a talk I did on the American Dream. Of course, you know, our
Where's your
stuff.
Dr. Oz video?
Dr. Oz video is on here. It just way back because I posted so much since then.
For
But
those
it's
of
on
you
here.
who don't know what we're talking about, his Dr. Oz video was an event that we did with Dr. Oz, where he got to share the stage with Dr. Oz for like a few minutes
Yes.
and ask him important questions. What was that experience like for you to be a VIP speaker, sharing the stage with an international superstar like Dr. Oz?
Oh, it was amazing. It was awesome. I mean, you know, it was really cool because I got to ask him some questions that I really wanted to, you know the answers to from him. So I think it's great. And to have that opportunity is really great. I've used those photos also from it as well. Here's the recent ones from Mexico City. There's a couple of them down here.
At City
So-
Banamex and at
Yep,
Medica Sur Hospital, the #1
Yep.
hospital in Mexico.
Exactly. And
I
then
see
some other,
also, I see there was another speech right there.
which one?
That one right there. What's that? A Rotary Club speech. Hey,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one, because it was at a district event. There were 50 different clubs that were gathered. So it's kind of a big event. And also because it's a topic, history shaping our community identities. And I thought, you know, that's relevant for the stuff I put out as Celebrity Historian. And did you notice also, speaking of Celebrity Historian, that the channel is called Celebrity Historian. So I've been branding that everywhere I can, right? So I have the username at @celebrity_historian, which is the same username I have on Instagram and the same one I have, you know, anywhere that you can have a username. And then, of course, you know, branding this. So when you Google me, speaking of media, because there's another thing you talk about, and I always paid attention to it, you want to own your real estate. It says all my stuff. Look at all these videos that come up because I put them up on YouTube, which of course Google owns YouTube. That's part of the reason I went with YouTube and posted all those videos so I can be branded at the top when you Google me. This is all me, my
Listen,
Instagram, my appearances.
I love it, and it's exact implementation. I would suggest that those videos of you on TV, either henceforth or in retrospect, should be entitled Celebrity Historian Rafi Andonian on Fox 24, Good Day, whatever. That. Don't say Good Day. You shouldn't say Good Day. You know, like
That's their Clint. That's their
video.
post. That's their post.
okay.
Yeah, that's funny. So this is mine. Any of mine start with Rafi Andonian at like CBS TV St. Louis.
Yep.
That's actually the TV station's YouTube. Funny enough,
Hey,
that's coming
good.
up.
That's
And
good.
then that's KNWA. Yeah, that's funny because some of the TV station ones are coming up too. And
Yeah.
then
Well, imagine that. TV stations have great
exactly.
SEO value. Who would have ever thought?
That's huge, Clint. That's one of the biggest things because that's something that if obviously Google looks at, right? Is how many other popular sites are you on? And the posts, not only that you do on YouTube, but the posts that you get on the other TV station websites are very valuable in that regard because all of a sudden, especially because I'm doing them frequently, all of a sudden, like, you know, you're constantly on there. So now you're important, right? Look, my books come out at near the top. Look at that. I mean, the second link is my books, my Amazon page, which is pretty cool.
Your
Amazon
author page.
Yep, my Amazon
Yeah,
author page. There's my 3 books.
strategy that we teach at Impact, Influence, and Income, which you have attended in Acapulco.
Yeah, absolutely. And I took notes and actually like apply them. So this is how this stuff happens.
Imagine that. Imagine that. If you actually apply what I teach, does it work?
Absolutely.
That's
I
what
always
this
think
video
about
is
own
all
your
about.
Google real estate. I think about that all the time. Like I can hear you saying it, you know what I mean? And all the different strategies that there are for that. So absolutely. And then you look over here, I title it. I didn't necessarily put Celebrity Historian every time because it was on the channel, but I always followed your model before which is my name, this TV station, and the city, and the rest of it is just like, you know, the title. It's like for the subject. I try to make it keywords that I think could be like popping up on different things. So, for example. So I don't make it too esoteric. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Don't get
you got to
cute
make
with
sure you're
this
paying
stuff.
attention to that. Yeah, like look at this one, Sangria Day, wine history. Like those are cool words, right? Gifting history, like Christmas with George Washington. There's another thing you teach, which is use celebrity names. And George Washington is like the ultimate historical celebrity, right? And
Definitely.
you'll see George Washington all over my stuff. I regularly bring up George Washington. And he's not even my favorite founding father.
Hey man, I love how you have done numerous TV appearances with George Washington. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It
what
all
I'm-
started, if you remember, with, let's see if it's not buried here because there's so many of them. Let's see, with this one right here. Are you following George Washington's rules for civility on the 4th of July? And that came up with Acapulco because we were sitting around at dinner at a previous launch pad when I was pitching something else. But this is what happens when you are, creativity comes at unusual moments. You can't like plan it. And when you kind of put yourself in an environment where you're focused, you're away from sort of the day-to-day, and you're learning. And that was, by the way, a repeat launch pad. I've done launch pad 3 times. That was, I think, my 2nd time. And when you repeat, it starts to go, the material is no longer content that you're just studying, but it starts to become a part of you. That's really important. We talk about beyond memorization, and that applies not only to the lines that you know for your TV appearances, but it applies to the concepts that you're applying so that you're naturally doing them, right? You're naturally applying these sort of strategies. And the only way you can incorporate it to become a part of you regularly is to regularly study and revisit and put yourself in these environments. And so that just came to me. We were talking about, I think, historical celebrities. I wanted something kind of funny. 4th of July was kind of on the horizon. And I turned to you and I said, like right at dinner, informally, I said, hey, Clint, what do you think of, are you following George Washington's rules of civility on the 4th of July? And you said, that's amazing. And I was like, all right.
Well,
it
has so much in there. It has so much in there. And first of all, I talk about knowing it beyond memorization. And that includes the concepts that Rafi was talking about. And one of the most powerful concepts that you're utilizing is the use of power words that have power, and placing them correctly. And what is that hook? Are you following George Washington's rules of civility on the 4th of July? What does that have there? Well, first of all, it's got 3 at least hooks. Number 1, it's got a celebrity hook, which is George Washington. Number 2, it's actually got 4 hooks. It has a strange question hook.
Yep.
The rules of civility, what is that?
Yep.
Number 3, it has a timely hook, which is the 4th of July. And number 4, it has a pop culture hook, which is the 4th of July. So of course that show is going to get booked. How many appearances did you do with that segment?
I did 2 in one weekend with the same segment, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? On the 4th of July weekend. And I'm going to pitch it again this year. And it's also, if you think about it, it's the timely evergreen, right?
It is the holy grail.
Do that every time. Exactly. I could do that every year. And if I get even just 1 a year from that, right? You got, let's say over 20 years, you got 20 extra segments just like for nothing. You know what I mean? Like you're just doing it.
You should be able to work your way up with that segment to major shows.
Yeah.
Especially if you do it several years in a row. Like
Yes.
you did it on smaller stations. Next year, you should be aiming to do that on top 10 stations. And
Sure.
as you continue to build your celebrity historian brand and awareness within the producer community, that celebrity historian Rafi Andonian has great timely segments for just about any day of the year. You'll be able to get awareness of this great segment and then be able to show them a great clip where you really, boom, where you really nail it and amp it up. And let's talk about some of the tricks that you've been using and implementing to amp up the power of your segments, because that's really what this is all about. These are your marketing videos. The stations don't care. They don't ever watch them again. You're the one who's using these to build yourself in the eyes of clients and prospects, and even in your own mind. And in order to have your segments being as great as possible, I teach you various elements to include in your segments to make them more compelling TV, more compelling video, more compelling marketing for you and your prospects. So explain to us, if you would, maybe let's go through one of your better segments and you could talk about the elements that you deliberately, systematically, methodically included in the segment as a result of studying the Clint Arthur mathematical formula for how to get on TV anytime you want for free that I teach at Celebrity Launchpad.
Yeah, so we can jump into the segment, but I want to say something. So when you talk about upping the power, something you mentioned, what's really important there is that, there's a couple different things that come to mind. One is that sometimes I used props before, but not always. So one thing I did was I set a standard, and the standard that I set was that I will always use props. And and that's of course part of your formula, right? And once
What do
I
you think of
did
that,
that,
Kevin Free?
it forced me to grow into more creativity. Things that do not have an obvious
Pretty
prop. I found a way to find a prop to hook into it. Okay. And that's really important to remember because, you know, some things, you know, it could seem obvious to have a prop, but you have to actually, like, again, be creative, think about it. And once you say, I'm not going to do it if it's convenient, I'm going to do it because I'm going to set a standard, you grow into it. And that's really different because if you say, oh yeah, I'll do it if I think about it, you're not going to think about it. You know,
I love
you
that
have to
because
force
I
it.
talk about setting your own standards and keeping them. Set your own standards and keep your standards is a very key concept because look, no one is going to tell you that you need to be going on TV. No one is going to tell you that you should be a VIP speaker at important places, at major logos on the podium. No one's going to tell you to go find celebrities. Nobody's going to tell you to do any of these things. It's up to you to do them. And that's called setting standards.
Yep. And I would also add another thing that I did was a lot of these segments, not always, and I'll explain in a moment, but a lot of these segments are like the local hook is really baked in there. It's not something where I just pulled out like a random local statistic to include in the same segment. I do the work. And you talk about your formula with more energy equals more, or more energy squared equals more TV squared, or I forgot what it is right now. But
energy equals more TV and more TV. That's what it is.
And making that effort for those truly local segments really matters. And I find a way to get a local hook that has larger significance too, that anyone else can watch. And I'll show you an example. The exception to that, I think, is if you have something that really transcends, like the George Washington rules for civility. That's one where sometimes I say, okay, that one I'm gonna go straight in with that. Or like I did one here on a Constitution Day, which I love. It was not particularly local, but Constitution Day to me was like big enough that I could try that. And it's sort of like, it's sort of my Russia-Ukraine segments. You might remember I did those a while back in the spring. That transcends, right? That was the big news peg, and then of course the timely hook, etc. In that situation, it was such a hot topic, and I did that one 3 times. I didn't have to have the local, but unless you have something like that, which I even had a producer tell me this back one time, and I was like, I'm already doing that, but it was really cool to hear that. You should really try to have something really local. So we can take a look at an example of either kind if you like, but I think a good one could be.
I was talking to a TV producer whose show you had been on recently for a national holiday. And she told me the thing she loved about you was you appeared on the show on a national holiday and had localized information to make it local, because that's the key to all of these TV appearances. If you're going on a city's TV station and you can add that local hook, that's what they really, really want, because these stations are a local service. They're a they're a community service to the local city. That's what they want. So
let's look at that. Actually, that's a really good one, because there's a recent example of that, because I've done that so many times. Is for MLK Day. On July 4th, I did 2, but on MLK Day, I did 4 segments. Wow. And on the weekend, over the course of the weekend. So I was traveling, and all in person, mind you. Look at this, all in person. Wow. And that's another thing, by the way. That's another example of more energy. Make the effort. You think it's easy to pull off 4 markets in 3 days? It's not. But you do it. You figure it out and you do it.
Did you drive to all of those?
No, that included a flight too. Flight and drive.
Was it like a regional tour, basically, on a weekend?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
There you go, folks.
St. Louis, Arkansas, Missouri, excuse me, hang on, let's see. St. Louis, Arkansas, St. Louis, I'm out of order, hang on. Tulsa, Fayette, Arkansas, Alabama, and St. Louis. Alabama was a flight. The other 3 were driving, connected. Yep.
That's tremendous, man. That's E equals MT squared. Energy.
Well, another thing you said somewhere in one of your workshops was, I think it was a lady in Canada. You said that she said, I started to get booked more when I stopped worrying about how I'm going to get on.
Yeah.
I remember that. And I thought with MLK weekend, January tends to be you know, I honestly had a lot of segments ideas for January, but it can be a slower month too. It depends how you look at it. But I was like, MLK Day is like a very obvious historical tie-in. And I used to work at the Martin Luther King home. So I was like, this could be like a home run for me. I'm gonna try to get in as many as I can. And then I'll figure out how to make the schedule work. And it worked out. So we got 4 of them. I mean, 4 in one holiday, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
In a
tremendous.
weekend. I mean,
Yeah,
think about
from a Friday to a Monday, just bam.
for people who have 4 or 5 TV appearances, that's doubling your TV appearances in a weekend. And let's talk a bit about let's stop the screen share because I really want people to focus on you for when you're talking about this.
Can I add one more thing before we jump to that, just real quick?
And then we'll come back to this.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
You know, what is this doing for you as a man? What is this doing for you as a speaker? What is this doing for you as a person to have so many appearances? Because I have said many times, look, when you've done 50 TV appearances, nobody can take that away from you. And it changes you as a person. And there's a lot of people out there with 3, with 5, with 7, with 12. But once you start really getting up there, what's the impact?
I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's the impact is tremendous. So for one, I love it. I love a camera. Okay, that's really important. And so to me, like, you know, I love the opportunity to share this stuff on camera, like from a personal standpoint, enjoyable standpoint. It actually also helps you communicate better, like before we even get to business stuff, because these are big topics a lot of times that I tackle. Big topics, the Constitution and civil rights and this and that. And now you're trying to find a way to make it digestible in like 4 minutes, right? 4 to 5 minutes, let's say. And using your props also, right? Because you're thinking of the props. We just talked about the standard. Now you're talking about how can I connect the talking point to the prompt. And that makes you a better communicator. You're more concise. You're using the things around you, etc. So there's that benefit also. Obviously, you know, it keeps you busy, although if you figure out how to do the travel the way that I try to, you can actually be pretty efficient at it. And on the flip side, what happens is, as I kind of referenced briefly earlier, that when people see that you're traveling a lot, they treat your time differently. They really do treat your time differently. And I value that a lot because I hate people that waste my time. All right. I'm, you know, doing a lot of things and I really appreciate that. And then from a business standpoint, what's really fascinating is, and a personal standpoint, I'm not kidding you. Like I'll be walking around sometimes and someone will come up to me. It actually has happened a couple times with a stranger in like New Mexico, for example. But even like people in my, let's say, social circle, but maybe not particularly close, like when I go to like a volunteer event or something like that. And sometimes people will come up to me and say, hey, I saw your segment on XYZ, or I watched your this, or I looked you up and I saw all of these. Wow, you know? And like immediately it starts the conversation, an icebreaker or whatever, that, or maybe even builds a relationship with someone that was just, you know, you barely knew in that circle. And there is that personal benefit also, right? So there's a ton of these things that start to happen. The producers also, because I like to go back to the same stations, because once you open the door, because it's hard to open the door, but once you open the door, you want to keep going back because you already did the work of opening the door. So show up as often as you can, as often as they let you. Some of these stations say you can't do more than once a month. All right, then I'll show up once a month.
There's so many things you guys should have written on a whole page already from this interview. We're going to continue. Are you enjoying this? Are you getting value out of this? Give a thumbs up in the chat if you're liking it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's an amazing video. There's so many great things.
Right? So then I'm going to take advantage of it once a month. There's one station that likes me twice a month. I go there twice a month and I have to fly to that station. I don't care. I'll make it happen because you know why? You take what you can while you can get it, like you say, because that producer can leave. And when that producer leaves, I have to start over. And now I missed an opportunity for 2 segments a month with that market. You know, that's really something to consider there. In that process, Clint, what happens, now the producers listen to ideas from you that are different than the typical segment. So for example, there's one I did in front of a historic site in Alabama. That we're standing in front of a historic church, and we did 2 segments actually back to back right there at that historic site. I have one coming up, and you kind of referenced it earlier. The producer pitched me, and they said, "Hey, we want you as guest co-host on our show." And that's going to happen in a couple of months. And so it changes the power dynamic a little bit. Now the producer's asking me for something, right? As opposed to me asking them. And that happens only because I didn't go there only one time. I kept going back. I consistently delivered. I showed that I can, because they need the consistency, right? That I can consistently bring the props, do the visuals, my bow tie, you know, the whole thing, find
look like a
relevant
celebrity.
hooks, all the stuff that we're talking about, right?
Everything.
So that's really like the kinds of things that it does for you. When you say as a man, it changes the whole, your relationship with everyone and everything around you before you even get to any of the business stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. And hey, we have previously talked about a book that you're working on, 365 Days of History by Rafi Andoni. And, you know, it just occurred to me when you're doing so many segments on so many different days.
Yep.
Every one of those chapters in your book should have the video clip from the TV appearance on that topic. And now it's 365 days of celebrity historian Rafi Andonian on TV. That's going to require 365 clips, okay? And you get, or it also could include various speeches or excerpts from speeches if you want to shortcut this process, because you've also embraced the celebrity speaking. But let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the screen share. Look at that TV appearance that you wanted to review on MLK Day, and then let's take a look at one of your. Let's take a look at the London Stock Exchange speech that you did, and we'll talk about that. And we're going to try to wrap this up in another 10 minutes to be respectful of your time and everybody's time.
That's fine. So what I want to say about the MLK ones, just real quick, is that each one of these MLK ones is a different local civil rights topic. And that's how we got to this with the holiday and a local topic. I didn't just throw out a local statistic, but it's a local event, a local topic, which also, Clint, each of these also had national significance. So for example, in CBS in St. Louis, we talked about what's his name? I forgot his name now. Lloyd Gaines, who tried to integrate law school in Missouri. And although they failed, it was actually the precedent that was later cited in Brown v. Board, you know, which overturned segregation nationally. So there's both the national significance. So if you're not from St. Louis, it's something interesting. But if you're local, it has a direct local thing. And then honestly, you have one in Tulsa.
It pisses me off at Celebrity Launchpad when people come and throw some super
bullshit, lame
thing.
Exactly.
Pisses me off.
Tulsa is the Black Wall Street. That's been getting attention lately. That was like a rich local Black community. Again, a lot of national attention. This one, Arkansas, the first Southern school to integrate medical school. And one of the things I mentioned in that segment, Clint, is this after the first student, and we talk about that, you know who she inspired to be the second student at University of Arkansas Medical School? Jocelyn Elders.
No way.
Yeah. Who you've done an event with before my time. But how cool is that? So like, again, tying in national names and national events, right? And then the Alabama one was the 1963 Birmingham campaign with MLK and a local civil rights leader. And of course, MLK automatically, you know, a national historical celebrity, but also it's a famous moment because there's a bombing of a church that takes place there that kills 4 little girls. And today there's a US Mint bronze medal, which is a replica of what was actually given to them posthumously that I use as a prop. So it's a big moment, national significance, but again, with the local hook. And one thing I want to point out here on one of these segments, let's pick the St. Louis one. Look what they say. And this can only happen if you're going back over and over.
Also happening Monday, MLK Day. So fascinating. We've got that. Everyone, with Martin Luther King Jr. weekend upon us, we are learning more about a local man.
Listen to what he says about me.
Segregation in schools across the country. His name was Lloyd Gaines. His story is fascinating, but his fate is a complete mystery. Here to tell us more is celebrity historian Rafi Andonian, who has a real knack for uncovering these kind of off-the-radar stories about people we should know about, but we don't. Welcome back to the show. Nice to have you here.
You see what he said there? That's the kind of stuff that he can only say if you've been back over and over. And he
that should be on your sizzle. That needs to be on your 1-minute celebrity historian sizzle.
And you know who look what he says at the end here.
Here, they can go ahead and do so. Lloyd Gaines, a pivotal stepping stone along the way to our state constitution and
look what he says there.
This guy, they're fascinating stories, Rafi. Thank you. So
you see what I mean? Even at the end, he did it, and there's example after example of that. oh my gosh, whoops, you're so, you're always come here with such, so much knowledge, you make it so fun. Like there's an Arkansas one. This one is.
You only get that when you go back over and over.
That's right. Look at this one. It's just not MLK Day, but it reminds me. Look at my props here. Milk, a crystal ball, but look at this. She's interacting with the prop, something you're talking about. That's something, and actually in the milk, at some point, we actually open it and start drinking it. I thought the guy was gonna start chugging it with me. So, hang on, let's see. Yeah, here we go, we cheers the milk. So again, interacting with the prop, and you talk about food, which I guess is a form of food, and milk has a history in Arkansas. But check this out. Check out what he says at the end. I think this is the right one.
Appreciate you paying attention to the details of Arkansas. It's such great
See?
stuff.
It's a great state. A lot of great. You hear that? We appreciate you paying attention to. Oh, look at this. He makes a comment first on my bow tie. Again, pop of color. We talk about how they pay attention, and then the local hook. Listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you coordinate your tie in this court? You're always coordinating. You're so great at that.
See?
Yeah, pay attention to details.
We appreciate you paying attention to the details of Arkansas. It's such great stuff that
It's
we
a
learn
great
about our
state,
state.
a lot of great heritage here. It's really interesting.
You see what I'm saying? They notice this stuff, and they know that I'm regularly doing it. He said, you always pay attention to detail, the art, the props, and these are all stuff in your formula. And they're recognizing it, and they would, now they're saying it on air. They tell me off air, they're like, hey, you're great, you bring this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, it's just in my, it's in the formula. But now they're saying it on air. So because there's that chemistry and that consistency and repertoire. And this is a show, by the way, that wants me to go on as co-host later in, like I said, in almost 2 months. So that only happens because you're there over and over and delivering with the formula, the consistency to do good TV. It's not just content. We fall in love with our content, like in terms of the information that we had to say, but that's not how to do it. Now, can I talk a little bit about speaking? Because that ties to something that's really relevant.
Please.
So and I'll stop sharing for a moment. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull up this lady's feedback because it speaks to what you're talking about. So when we do speaking, we often talk about, people get like a lot of information in, right? But I want to show you. So I did this talk, a Zoom talk. Yep, this is it. I did a Zoom talk for Vermont Humanities, which is every state has a different humanities council that's funded in part, but seed funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities. And, these are serious organizations, they're not easy to get talks with. And I decided I'm going to go on a campaign of trying to get on talks, doing as many of them as I can, paid. And one of them, by the way, speaking of, you're talking about speaking elevation, I'm going in September to one of them, and they're going to pay me $5,000 plus travel expenses just to show up and talk. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what's possible. I'll be there for a day doing a bunch of different things. This one, the Vermont one that I just did 2 nights ago, they said we're going to do it on Zoom because it's like an online program they do. Okay, fine. So I was in my living room, did a 1-hour Zoom talk, and I got paid $1,000 just to do that, right? Just for a 1-hour Zoom talk. $1,000 an hour is a pretty good rate, right? Now, of course, I had some prep time, but my point is that this wouldn't happen without the portfolio, because there's 2 points I want to make here. One, the way I approach these different humanities councils, TV, but it actually demonstrates how you talk. But part 2 is when I did this speech, I didn't just share information. This is something you preach a lot. And I always remember it. I was like, what are the stories that I have that can help me convey the information I want, but in story format? And how do I make it engaging and localized? Because the topic I talked about was contested historic sites, which I can talk about all kinds of things. And there's some major national ones I talk about, like atomic bomb and Confederate flag and this and that. But you should always have real local stories. And I have a database I can access some of this stuff. So I pulled out some stuff from Vermont and accessed that. And I wove it into the talk. And look at what one of the moderators said to me.
Okay, go back to sharing.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is me and Jocelyn Elders at CNN Center. Where?
Oh, hang on. Let me stop sharing so that you can actually, there you go.
Me and Jocelyn Elders at CNN Center. And let me zoom in on her.
Yeah, almost other way. Yep.
There we go. Jocelyn Elders, 15th Surgeon General of the United States. She was one of our caption celebrities. You don't recognize her face, but when I put the caption, you're like, oh, that's cool. This is one of my fun celebrity attachment photos, and we provide these as part of the MBA program. If you're not signed up to Live Your Best Life Now, we have only a few spots left, and you should really get enrolled. It includes trips to Acapulco, pictures with celebrities, speaking at very important places, all the great stuff. So Rafi, let's continue.
Yeah. And it ties into TV sometimes. You know, you could end up bringing her up in a TV segment, right?
Yep.
So, all right. So
go back to screen share.
So this is from the lady in Vermont, one of the moderators. Right. Thanks so much. Great talk last night. Your experience and background made for excellent transitions. That would not happen without stories. I was talking about stories of my experience working at Gettysburg and going on TV, et cetera, talking about these topics. I literally took the TV stories and my work experience and wove them into the way I was conveying things, okay? And so it affects not my talk, because the TV stories and the photos are assets in the talk itself. Now, I'm sharing my experience and background, not just information. It cannot happen without stories. And then it said made for excellent transitions, right? And you made an outline, think about it all. It says, look, so great to see your audience engage, because I made it interactive.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? And they want to have me back in the future, which is
Were you using the TV clips in the presentation?
I didn't use the video clips because I wanted to be talking, but I used the photo, the screenshots. And then I had a screenshot that was related, like a power shot, like me and Putin, for example, went on the TV for the Russia-Ukraine. And then I would talk about what I did there and how it relates to what we're discussing.
That's great, because sometimes the photo can be more of a golden balloon than the actual video. However, when you have great video, like you've seen me do presentations where I use a clip from my appearance on Fox Business Channel talking about how to do powerful presentations when I'm doing VIP Extreme Speaker Training or VIP Speaker Training. I'll show myself on a big national show, but it works with anything. And, you know, if you do a segment and then you're doing a speech related to that segment, you should probably show at least a portion of the video clip, because nothing celebritizes you more than television.
Like a quick clip. Yeah, that's a good point. I would say that I've used, and I'm not opposed to using video. It's usually like a time thing I'm trying to work on, but I've used the screenshots, like powerful screenshots, like with the lower third, like, you know, with your name on there and your title, or holding up a prop, or me and Putin, like obviously that's the celebrity stuff. Me and the quarters, some of you may know I've done some segments with quarters, with the historic women, like Maya Angelou on there. There's a historical celebrity. And here I am talking about Maya Angelou on TV and the quarter and this and that. And people love that. And that ties into some of what I talk about with contested historic sites. So those screenshots, guys, like you have no idea how powerful they are. So what I do with every segment, by the way, speaking of using your assets, I go back to each segment and I evaluate two ways. One, I watch it without the volume on, because I like to see, am I actually delivering visually? And can I see that I'm having a good time and like this is a show worth watching without listening to what I'm saying? That helps me get better at good TV. Like we're
Hey, this is very, very important for those of you who have a hard time watching your own video clips, okay? Here he's telling you how he watches it not once, but multiple times, even once without the sound on. This is so important to review your clips as part of being a master communicator like him and being a great TV expert. Let's continue.
Talking about. So that pays attention to your facial expressions, your costume, your prop use, your body language, et cetera, et cetera. Because a lot of times in morning TV, someone might be like having it on in the background and it doesn't matter what you're saying, but they want to see what's going on there and turn up the volume. And then part two, I go through and frame by frame, I'm not joking. And I sit there and take photos of my favorite, like freeze frame photos that I saved to my computer that I think are the best ones, that are either a powerful pose or a great prop shot or a good background, like the one with the historic church, any of those things, a great smile, a great title on the bottom, lots of different things that I include. And I take those frames and I do two things with them. One, there's usually 20 to 30 frames that I keep from each one. So I keep them in a file. So it builds my file. So I have a library of those that I could use for anything that I want. But two, I put them on Instagram. To Instagram, you can only put 10 on the frame. So I take like 10 of my favorites and I put them on Instagram. So you can go through on Instagram and look at my photos of me having a great time on TV, and it complements the videos that I put up on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, etc. And that's really important. And then another way I use the assets. So that's one thing to consider is look back on your stuff and build your photos. But also, I don't just post it on social media. Of course, you saw I have a library on YouTube. But on top of that, I take each of those, and if you go on LinkedIn, there's a featured section, and this is really important. And I go into the featured section, and I put all my VIP speaking and TV appearances in the featured section. I don't put anything else. I don't pollute it with anything else. I don't want to water it down. It's the VIP speaking and the TV appearances. And what that does, when someone looks at your LinkedIn profile, they're not going to dig through your posts because the way LinkedIn works, it doesn't have like a wall up the way that Facebook does, but it does show up that featured section right at the top. And you want them to see that first. And I can't tell you how often that works. Even people that are not even connected to me officially on LinkedIn, but I know they looked at it because I'll have a meeting with them and they'll say, I was looking at your XYZ. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. They're either finding it on LinkedIn or searching it and finding it. That's Google territory, Google real estate we talk about. So before I even meet someone, let's say, for the first time talking to them, they already put me on this sort of place of like, wow, you know? And as that happened, it helped me get more and more speaking gigs. So I'm getting more of those Humanities Council speaking gigs. I'm getting more of these other things. I'm getting into, believe it or not, the Business Turnaround Association. I'm going and doing a regional talk for them, and pulling out historical figures that orchestrated turnarounds and how those leadership principles apply to the business turnaround, right? So that's happening because of, thank you, because of the portfolio that I have. And not only because I just like did the appearances, but how I'm using them, where I'm putting them, how they see it before they even talk to me. And someone will say, I loved your stuff. They love it, not just because of the information. Trust me, there's the information you could find. It's the way I deliver. It's the stuff we're talking about. It's making it good TV, because a good TV show is not just good for TV, it's good for all these other things.
It's marketing. And there have been studies that prove the marketing of a product improves the overall experience the client has with the product. You could go from getting a 4-star rating to a 5-star rating if you just improve the marketing of what you're selling. And that's exactly what you're doing in all of the ways that you're talking about it. Let's bring up the London Stock Exchange clip. Oh, yeah. Let's just take a quick peek at that and talk a bit more about VIP speaking, because really, it's the easiest thing. I mean, TV is the hardest thing to do. You really have to go after it the way Rafi has been doing. But the VIP speaking is something that I control. And we've got some great VIP speaking stuff coming up later this year at the, bring up your screen share. We got great VIP speaking stuff coming up later this year at the New York Academy of Medicine, New York City Bar Association, and NASDAQ.
Let's do it.
Rafi at London Stock Exchange.
Ever met a slave?
I know, let's start with being excessive.
Yeah.
Have you ever met a slave? I have. I was working at the Martin Luther King Jr. birth home and neighborhood. And we were in the summer of 2010 or spring of 2010, walking through his historic birth.
Notice I have a tie on, not a bow tie. That was before the bow tie.
It's before you really became celebrity historian.
And by the way, this event we did three speeches in a row, and this is my first one. I feel like I got better as I went, which is another valuable thing when you do the speeches over and over.
Yep.
Childhood neighborhood. It was myself, maybe about 10 kids between age 9 and 13, and one chaperone. I noticed that these kids had different scars on them. One had his skull pushed in, another had marks on his face, another had all kinds of scars on his neck. And as I'm walking up toward the porch of the Martin Luther King's childhood home, the chaperone revealed to me that these kids were escaped slaves. In the summer of 2010, from Haiti. So here we were in 2010.
Yeah. I still use that story, by the way. I've worked on that story a bunch and I still use it. I used it 2 nights ago in Vermont, actually. So it gives you an example. Can I pull up Cambridge real quick since we're
Yeah.
starting this one? Because that one I like in the sense that just since we're talking about your programs, I incorporated what happened on that trip.
Make sure you
So
pay
this is like
attention
the
here.
you always, it's these things are
In
dynamic.
the training that we were doing on the trip.
Not only the training, yes, absolutely.
About
Oh,
a
geez, hang on.
vacation home. You always help.
But the
Have you ever met a slave? I have. A century after slavery was abolished. In 2010, I was standing on the lawn of the Martin Luther King birth home, leading a group of little boys on a tour about to enter the front door of King's house. These kids were aged 9 to 13. One had the head smashed in. Another had lashings of a whip on the back of his neck, as if yesterday. All of them had scars around their body. They were slaves, just days removed from escaping Haiti. Having come to Atlanta to visit Dr. King's home to connect with his legacy. That's when the power of historic sites hit me. The legacy of such a place, the power of place, from slavery to freedom. That's why today I carry this pen. This pen is made from wood that comes from a tree that witnessed Abraham Lincoln deliver the Gettysburg Address on the bloodiest battlefield of American history at Gettysburg in 1863. This to me symbolizes the journey from slavery to freedom, the connection of past to present, the new birth of freedom that Lincoln spoke of on the grounds where the last full measure of devotion was given by these soldiers. One such moment I realized that is when I was standing on top of a grave, numbered, no name, because that man had sacrificed his identity in the battle for freedom. In that way, the past connected to my present, the journey of the American experience. The same way, a pen can be such a powerful way of communication is how I connected through a book when I was in Los Alamos, working at the site of the creation of the atomic bomb. You see, as you walk out of the museum, there is a book for reflection by visitors. I opened that book and I started to read some of the comments. The atomic bomb is evil. The atomic bomb saved my grandfather's life. Those were the different perspectives that came from the past to the present to remember each person's story and connection to place. You know, on this trip to England, a couple days ago,
right there.
I was walking at Stonehenge. Chris told me that he had left the military from England, guy about my age, in his 30s. He left in 2013, 8 years ago, with PTSD. But it wasn't until 2020, 7 years after he left the military, when he went to Stonehenge for the first time and stood in the center of that stone monument, that he felt, as he put it, at peace. My first time that I felt human. That is how the past can connect to the present. You may choose to visit the past, but the past is always visiting you, as it did for Chris. Back at the Martin Luther King home, just a few days after having met real live slaves in 2010, I was speaking with a gentleman older who had participated in the civil rights movement. And there were different ways of participating, some peaceful, some violent. He was one that advocated a more violent approach in the 1960s. But as he stood there in 2010 in front of me, provoked by the conversation that takes place only at a place like this, that you may not have even in your own living room, he told me, I was wrong. Dr. King was right. That is the kind of revelation that can happen with the power of a historic site. These issues continue with us today. On September 17th, the 234th anniversary of the writing of the Constitution in the United States, we continue to debate these issues. That's why I wrote my book, How Many Ways Did Founding Fathers Oppose the Constitution?
Don't shake the props.
Because even then, exactly 234 years ago, they debated the meanings. The very people who created the Constitution debated the meanings of what they wrote. And they will continue to do so for years, for generations, and as we continue today, because history still lives. And what is past is still around you in your present.
Wow. Rafi, that was masterful. That was truly, no, seriously. That was such compelling viewing. If you're watching this video right now, you could feel how compelling this talk was about historical sites. That's what this was. How history impacts your life today. And who the hell could have done that? Only Rafi Andonian, with his experiences on TV, with props, with meeting celebrities, with bring all of this into a cohesive, easily plain English communication of concepts. It was really, really amazing. And just talk briefly about how the two previous, or the three previous, because we had London Stock Exchange, we had Stonehenge, we had Oxford, and then we did Cambridge, and how that all led up to such an amazing performance here in this video.
Well, what I did was I tested different components of their different of my, stories in the earlier ones, right? And I got feedback from you and a couple other people on what was the strongest, most powerful pieces. That's one. Two, of course, we did training. And this is, I cannot emphasize enough. Sometimes people just show up to the speech and they skip some of the training, which I don't understand. The training is critical, because if we were to go through all of them, you would see I improve as we go through the week, not just because I switch around some of the stories a little bit. The slave story I keep at the core, but some of the other ones I kind of play with, but also my delivery changes. You see I'm ending more on power words and so on and so forth. I brought the circle full story. We started at MLK home. I kind of finished at the MLK home, etc. And then number three, I was open to my experiences on the trip itself, informing and changing. So for example, I said I met Chris at Stonehenge. That was like a day or two before then. So I'm incorporating what's there. And I'll just add actually part 4, maybe. You notice we were there on September 17th, the anniversary of the Constitution. And I thought I'm going to incorporate that in. We were just talking about it. By the way, a year later on the anniversary of the Constitution, which is 2022, I was on TV doing a Constitution segment, and I used props. I used dollar bills with the founding fathers on them, and I pulled out a dollar bill that was a relevant currency bill that was, with the founding fathers story associated. That was using prop and founding fathers story, etc. Who made the Constitution that interesting? Come on, of course, nobody. Props. You can find props even on the Constitution. But my point is, I tied that in too, which I did not say on the prior speeches, but it's the whole experience, man. It's the whole experience. It can't happen. This stuff can't come together. You see, I did the slave story better for this fourth time versus the first time. Sure. You see, I played with the stories. It's a smoother, I think. The delivery we talked about, which is based on the training. The person I met, Chris, and actually talking to the guy at Stonehenge. That's another thing. Instead of just like jerking off while we were walking around, Stonehenge, I had the guy there and I just started talking to the guy, interacting and taking advantage of the moment. And I didn't know it's going to lead to content for the speech. You just have to let things unfold, the creative process. And in the interaction, I was like, holy crap, this guy, like what he just said, like really is powerful. And I got to incorporate it. So you've got to do the whole experience. If you do this stuff, do the whole experience.
Hey, I really appreciate you're taking the time. The time has flown by because it was such a compelling experience with great video, with celebrities, with props, you've seen the implementation of props, you've seen local hooks, timely hooks, you've seen setting your own standards, attention to detail, so many of the things that I teach in Celebrity Launchpad for sure. And if you're ready to go on TV, go to guaranteed with a D, celebrity.com, guaranteedcelebrity.com, because I guarantee you're going to get invited on at least 3 TV appearances with my friends at ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, or you get all your money back plus $1,000. Nobody's giving you a guarantee like that. Or go to bestlifenow.com, bestlifenow2023.com if you want to do celebrity speaking, VIP speaking, get photos with celebrities. There's training involved. You come to Acapulco. How's Acapulco? Is it worth the trip, Rafi?
Lovely. The diet, the scenery, the content, all of it.
So this is all available. I want to say, really, Rafi, this is amazing. I'm going to recommend to every member of our community to watch and review and study this video carefully, because there was so much here. I really appreciate how gracious you have been with your time and with the lessons that you've learned in this process. And you're such an eloquent explainer and speaker about all of this. So thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, and thank you, Clint. I mean, you saw how much stuff I've learned from you, and there is way more. We could go on. And it's really important, as I said, as people learn from you, to do the entire experience, like the examples we gave, repeat experiences, and study what it is that you're when you write it down as a note, don't just like let that be the last time. Study it, revisit it, internalize it, make it a part of you, so you live it, so you actually see the results.
Thank you, Rafi.
Thank you.
All right. I will stop it there. It goes a little more, but there you go. Hey, that was an awesome video. I'm going to stop the share. And I'm really glad that all of you watched this. I know we have a couple of gold members of MBA on here. We got Kevin Freeman is a diamond member. And for those of you who are not enrolled yet, the spaces are filling up and you're going to miss out. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to miss out on this. I'm telling you, MBA is, you heard him say, repeat the experiences, study the experiences. Do the trainings. It's going to have training. It's going to have Acapulco. It's got all of it. And you guys, if you're watching this and you're not enrolled, I don't know what you're thinking, because I don't know what you're going to get that's going to be more value packed and more transformational than coming to MBA this year for sure. So that's going to wrap it up from this Celebrity Entrepreneur Mastermind. I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned as much as I did in this process. I really, truly did. And if you have any questions about getting involved in MBA or any of the other stuff or whatever, text me 212-888-2999. That's my cell. You know it. You're part of this community, and I would love to be in touch with you. So until next time, or until I talk to you, make it an awesome day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Good night, everybody.